Hi, I'm Kat and I play red. Today we're doing something a bit different. Saying that, I did it a few weeks ago, so I don't know if it's that different, but I'm going to say it's something different. In 2017, Azul by Michael Kiesling was released by Plan B Games. In 2018, Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, designed by Michael Kiesling and published by Next Move and Plan B Games, was released. And in 2019, Azul Summer Pavilion was released, designed by Michael Kiesling, published by Next Move Games. And in 2020, Azul Crystal Mosaic expansion was released. So, what's the difference between these 3.5 Azul games? Let's have a look and see. So, the first thing we're going to do is look at standard Azul. But we're going to make it a bit special and use the shiny overlay that come in the Crystal Mosaic expansion on this board. This basically means your pieces don't get knocked around, they sit in these little grooves. With 7 cats in the house, this kind of thing is really handy. There's also some other stuff in the box that we'll talk about after we've talked about Azul. But I wanted to just make it clear that this doesn't come with the base game. So, we're set up here for a 2-player game, which means we have 5 factory spaces. Each have 4 tiles that we randomly drew from the rather snazzy Azul bag. So, in Azul, you're trying to score points by building a better wall with these multicoloured tiles. So, let's start with this square here, this factory here. I want to take these 2 yellow tiles. So I'm going to take these 2 tiles and whatever is left goes into the middle. Now, in this case, I'd take the 1 yellow. You always have to take all the tiles of the colour you're choosing and everything else gets popped in the middle. Then I'm going to put them onto my player board. Now, this is the basic side of the board. These boards have got a reverse. Again, we'll look at them later. But for now, I'm going to place them onto this side of the board. And I'm going to place them actually on this row, starting from that side. So now my opponent would have their go. Let's just say... Right, now I need 1 more yellow to complete this row. So I'm going to take this one and pop these in the middle. Place that there. Now nothing is going to happen to this row until the end of the round. I can take more yellow tiles, but they obviously have to go onto different rows. If I were to take 3 yellows, I couldn't put 2 here and 1 here. Whenever I take tiles, they must all go on the same row. So let's get back to my choices here. I quite fancy these minty blues. I always think these look like spearmints. Don't ask me why. I take these and I'm also going to take the first player marker that's sat in the middle. Now obviously I can't place this anywhere on my board, so that's going to go down the bottom there, which will score me negatively at the end of the round. However, it does mean I get to go first. Oh, these inlays are lovely. So let's just let's just take some stuff to show you. Okay, pop these in here. So let's say all these tiles have gone and we're at the end of the round. Each player will then take it in turns to move tiles and score their board. So you only move tiles from completed rows. So in this case, it would be here and here. So starting at the top, I move a yellow across to the yellow space. Now that tile's all out on its own, so it's going to score me 1 point. And these then go back in the box. Here again, I move one across to the marked spot. It's on its own. It scores me 1 point. These go. This row, although it's not complete, will stay going into the next round. So in the next round, I'll only need 2 to finish it. Any tiles that are down here will score me negatively as shown. So in this case, my first player marker will get me -1 point. So I go back 1 on the score track. The first player marker then goes back into the middle. We restock the factories and go into the second round. So these tiles make such a good noise. Plus they look like opal fruits. So let's restock 4, 2, 1 and 2 for there. So let's have a look at what I want. There's not actually very much I want here. So if I were to take these orange, push those into the middle, and I would place those there. Right, let's say I would take the 2 orange from this factory. Now obviously I want this row to be full, but I've got 2 tiles. So one would go here, and one would go down here to score me those negative points at the end of the round. So let's have a look at some more interesting scoring. At the end of the round, this is full, so this will move across and these will go. However, this time it's not a tile on its own. It's actually part of a row of 2. So in this case, that tile would score me 2 points. If I had the yellow here and I pop that orange in there, it would score me a total of 4 points. 2 for the tiles on the horizontal and 2 for the tiles on the vertical. So as you can see, as you get more and more tiles together, this scoring will get bigger as the game goes on. So in this case, this blue would score me 3 for the horizontal, 2 for the vertical, giving me a total of 5 points. Don't forget at the end of the round to take off any negative points you have on the bottom here. This can get silly, so definitely keep an eye on those tiles in the middle, because if there's too many, you're going to end up being stung for lots of negative points at the end of the round. Play continues in this way until the end of the round when a player has a complete row. And then you're going to score end game points as shown at the bottom here on the board. At the end of the game, you'll score points for these 3 things. Each horizontal row will get you an additional 2 points. Each completed vertical column will get you 7 points. And if you're lucky enough to manage to get all 5 tiles of a specific colour out, that will get you an additional 10 points. And really, that's how you play Basic Azul. However, and this is a neat trick. Oh, see, I like this because I haven't actually got to empty. I can just take that off. In the base game, these are the player boards that comes with. You can see this is fairly logical and makes sense. The reverse of the board, however, is for those that like a bit of a challenge. You don't have any specific places that you must place certain colours. However, each row and column can only have 1 tile of each colour, but you have to work it out yourself. This is where the Crystal Mosaic expansion also comes in, because as well as the overlays, it comes with some extra player boards. So on this one, you've just got some specific colours in specific places. On the reverse, and this reminds me a bit of Scrabble, you've actually got multipliers for specific spaces. So if I'd placed one of these minty blue tiles here, I'd actually get twice the standard number of points for it. So the Crystal Mosaic expansion is a small box compared to the others, but it's got the 4 overlays and the 4 alternative player boards. So Crystal Mosaic goes with basic Azul, and not only does it sort of pimp it up a little bit, it also adds an extra level of complexity to the game. So with that said, let's have a look at Stained Glass of Sintra and see what that does differently. So, as if by magic, we now have Azul Stained Glass of Sintra out. This was the second of the trilogy. We've gone from opal fruits to Fox's glacier fruits, but the tiles still have that satisfying clunky noise and the nice bag. So, how's it different? You've probably noticed that the player board looks a little different. The factory setup is the same, and there is a universal score track rather than a score track on the player board. So, at the start of the game, these are chosen randomly, and each of these colours will give you additional points in each specific round. So rather than playing to a certain point, this game is played over 6 rounds. So at the end of the first round, you'll take that away, and you know that the pinky purple ones give you the extra points to the second round, orange for the third, etc. So that's how you keep track of the rounds. So that's one of the first main differences in the games, is the actual gameplay length. So the way you take tiles from factories is exactly the same. So let's start by taking these 2 blue tiles and popping these into the middle. Now, if I want to play these on my player board, they must be either where my little glazier guy is, or to this side of him. I'm not going to try right or left because he's upside down for me. So if I placed these 2 here, I would then move my glazier on to that tile. And for my next turn, I can only play from this space onwards. As well as taking tiles like you would in the normal Azul, the other thing you can do as an action is actually move your glazier back to the start of your board. So obviously later in the game you're going to end up here. There's nothing that you can place on these tiles, so you just spend 1 turn to move him back up to the start. This can also be really helpful when you don't want to end up taking a load of tiles that are going to be rubbish for you. So it's quite helpful to skip a turn. So the scoring is obviously quite different as well. I'm just trying to see. Let's say I have filled this row very quickly, very conveniently, nothing else on the board. Genius I am. So I would choose one of these tiles to go down onto this spot. I would then score 1, 2, 3, 4, because blue is the bonus colour for the round, and I'd score 3 points as shown at the bottom here. So that window would score me 7 points. I then flip this window over to the other side, pop my glazier back and continue play as normal. One of the things we like about Stained Glass of Sintra is this little box. So rather than your used tiles going somewhere else, they go into this little pot, which actually makes it handier to decant them into the bag and all that stuff. So, and it's pretty. It is a bit flimsy, but you know, you can't have it all. So, let's have a look. Let's go back to this same window, and let's say I filled it up again. Okay, what I would now do is move one of these tiles down, score as before. This time I'd score 1 for the blue and 3, so I'd score 4. Move my glazier, and this comes out of play altogether. So all of these are reversible. You're going to flip quite a lot, and you're going to have a few missing by the end of the game. So you may notice that there's no negative track on the bottom of this board. However, negative points can and will still happen. Let's say my glazier's here. I want to fill up this window, so I'm going to take this, is it pink? Pinky purple, nice colour, from the middle, and the first player marker, as in the first game. So I'm going to pop 3 on this window here. However, that then means I have 2 tiles that have no home. So I'm going to stick the first player marker there to remind me that I'm first player for the next round. This one gets chucked into our little box. However, at that point, I move 2 spots down the broken glass track. This is where your negative points come into play. So as you go further in the game, you'll get further and further down here. I have seen people hit the bottom. Kels, that's a shout out to you. At the end of the game, these points will be deducted from your score. So never fear, you can still get negative points in this game. However, I spoke about the bonus points from this. There is another way to get bonus points. Huzzah! So let's go back to this window here. Let's take the 2 blues from here and pop them on here, which completes this window. As before, I score the 2 bonus and the 4. Choose a tile to move down. However, any of these spaces that have tiles in, I would score for. So in this case, I score an additional 3 points. If I'd completed some of these, I put this on here, I'd get the 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 for a total of 4, so 10 points. So, as before, these come off, this flips, and play continues. You carry on like this for 6 rounds. You'll have quite a few of these flipped or removed, and your board will look like a bit of a haphazard mess by the end of the game. So let's just do that for funsies. As well as the points you gain over the course of the game, you'll also get bonuses for this little thing at the bottom here. Each one of these little white dots, here, here, here and here, represents a statue, and you'll get points for the number of panes of glass that surround each one, as shown at the bottom of the scoring board. So here, this statue has 2 bits of glass around it, so that would score me 3 points. If I had 0 or 1, it would get me no points. 2 will get me 3 points. If I managed to get 3 around there, 6 points, or 4, 10 points. So these can really rack up your points at the end of the game. And of course, don't forget your minuses from the glorious broken glass track here. Again, there is a bit of variation on this game, and the back of this little player board has got another variation to it. Let's pop some tiles on here to explain it, because it's a bit of a weird one. So you can pick one colour of glass. In this case, I'd pick orange, as that's the one I have most of. So I have 3 orange sweets. I really want to say sweets. Glass. I have 3 orange panes of glass here, and I have 2 strips that I've completed. So I'd multiply 3 by 2 for an additional 6 points. So that's the B side. We tend to stick with the A side. Have we actually? I don't think we've actually played this set of rules, but that's the variation that comes with Azul stained glass. This is probably my favourite of the 3 Azul games. It adds a little bit of complexity. The little glazier dude is a nice thing. The pieces are nice. The little box for your leftover stuff makes things easier. And again, all the components are lovely. So let's have a look at Summer Pavilion. On to Summer Pavilion. Same factory setup, same clunky tiles, nice bag, but this time they're diamonds. And I can't think of any sweets that come in diamond shape, so if you can think of any, drop them in the comments. So we have a universal scoreboard again, with some tiles here that we'll come on to. Again, the game is played over 6 rounds, but in this game we have one specific tile colour that is wild for the round. So in the first round, purple is the wild card. Because of the wild tiles, there's a slight difference in how you take your pieces. So let's have a look at the factory setup. So purple is the wild colour for the round. So if I were to take these 2 yellow, I get to take 1 wild token. Put them in. Instead of placing them immediately onto the board, I just pop them to the side where I'll place them at the end of the round. In this case, where there's 2 wild tiles, I would get to take, let's say I take a red, obviously. I'd get to take 1 of the wilds and the rest go in the middle. Similar to before, you would take the first player, the greens, and you get to take 1 wild. However, your negative points this time round come from the number of tiles you pick up. So in this case, it would actually cost me 4 points to get these tiles. So I'd immediately mark myself down 4 points for taking those. So let's say I've taken my tiles, push them in, yeah, hey, we've got some tiles. So at the end of the round, when there are no tiles left on the factory on the middle, you're going to take it in turns to place the tiles you gathered over the course of the round. So let's have a look. I have got 4 orange here. So I'm obviously going to place these on the orange star. For this spot here, I need to just put 1 orange, and that's not going to get me any points. However, this is why we need the overlays. The second one here, I'd have to use 2 orange, so I'd place 1 and discard 1. Because I've placed it next to another tile, it would score me 2 points because there are 2 connected. If I were to use my wild tiles, place that there on the 3, I'd get 3 points for that placement. Now you can see here we've got the little statues and the columns, and I think these are meant to be windows. If I was lucky enough to let's move some stuff around, to place these, I would have completely surrounded this statue here. which then means I can go over to the scoreboard, and you see the statue here means I get to take 2 tiles from this display. Now obviously purple are wild this round, so purple's a good one to take. I also know that green is going to be wild in the next round, so I'm going to take green. So that's my 2 tiles I take, and I continue placing on my board. So let's place that yellow for 2, discard that one, red 1. Then I don't want to place anything else because I want to keep these greens for the next round. So what I can do is pop these 4 tiles here and carry 4 tiles over to the next round. If I had others, I would have to discard them and take negative points. So if I discarded this one blue, I would take -1 point on the score track. At the end of the round, when all players have placed on their board, we take these off, put them to one side, and these will be tiles I'll have to place at the end of the next round. So here we completed this statue that got us some extra tiles. If I were lucky enough to place here and here, I'd surround this window. Again, going back to the scoreboard, if I surround a window, I get to pick 3 tiles from here. If I surround a column, it only gets me 1. It's fine to be taking all these extra tiles, but remember, any tiles you can't place at the end of the round will give you negative points. So be careful about these. Make sure that there's stuff here that you want and you can place. So the other thing on the player board, obviously you can see there are 6 different colours of tiles, hence 6 rounds, and each round a different colour is wild. So we have the 6, and then in the middle we have this blue one. This star here has to be tiles of different colours, and again it's the same system. So if I wanted to place on that 3, I'd place 1 green and chuck 2 away. If I wanted to place this blue, I'd have to place 1 blue and discard a blue, and so on. So you've got the 7 stars here that you're trying to fill. You gain the points for tiles that are adjacent when you place, and then at the end of the 6 rounds you'll have endgame scoring, which again is shown on the scoreboard. If you complete that central blue star, you'll get 12 points, 14 for the red, 15 for the blue, and so on, all the way until 20 for the purple. This is actually to do with the distribution of tiles, so obviously there are far more red tiles, as should be, than purple or green, for example. Also, you'll get bonus points if you've managed to cover all of the number 1s on your player board. That will get you an extra 4 points. If you've managed to cover all the number 2s, 8 points, 3 12 and 4 16. So there's huge numbers of end game points to be had here. Again, we have a really nice tower to put the pieces in. This one's a lot more sturdy than the one in Sintra, so I don't know if people complained about that. This is proper thick cardboard, and it's very red, so obviously we approve. We've got the nice Azul patterned bag as before, and this lovely sound with these tokens. So that's the 3 games. The original Azul was lovely because it was quite simple, it worked as a family-friendly game, and was quick and easy for everyone to learn. Stained Glass of Sintra added a little bit of complexity, and for me that's where the sweet spot's at with these 3 games. Stained Glass of Sintra added enough, whereas I think Summer Pavilion actually added too much. There's a lot going on in this game. If I want to be making the sort of decisions involved in Summer Pavilion, I probably rather go for a mid-weight Euro game over an Azul game. If you're playing with family and non-gamers, I'd go for original Azul. This is the one I like. Plus I like the shiny crystal tiles. So, I hope this video has been of some help. It's given you a chance to have a look at all of the Azul. If you liked it, click like, subscribe, blah blah blah, notify, all that rubbish. Follow me on the socials. I play red. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.